Hello everyone. I'm also sharing my screen. Give me 1 second, please. Let me know, please, if you see my screen. Full screen mode. Is it in full screen mode?
Now it is, yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you, because we are using Google Slides today. Welcome to this information session of the fifth edition of the Living Future Europe Masterclass, which is one of our flagship programs. I must say, this is the fifth edition in a row that we are organizing. We started back to 2021 with the first edition. And again, welcome to this session. We are, let's say, presenting on, let's say, an overview of the masterclass. What's the purpose? What's the program? Um, what are, say, the main aims, the main objectives? What are the contents? And obviously, we will leave room for questions and answers in the end for any questions you might have. So. I'm Carlo Battisti. Nice to meet you. I'm president of Living Future Europe. I'm a building engineer as background. Um, I co-founded Living Future Europe back to the end of 2019 after working for a few years as a volunteer for the International Living Future Institute. Living Future Europe is the European affiliate of Living Future. Now, the International Living Future Institute is called Living Future shortly. And we are basically the European affiliate. So we are working to promote the programs across Europe, really with the intent to advance a culture of regenerative design across the built environment, the building industry in Europe. Mostly working through these main pillars, research activities, advisory support, education, and training offerings. We're also working with the investors and partners. We are supporting the work that we do, also doing communication dissemination activities. And we are now also very actively engaged in helping Living Future and also Living Future Oceania, just the new brand name of the former Institute of Australia, to promote let's say, regenerative design and Living Future programs across the world. So there is a huge network of Living Future companies and members and so forth and so on. So in the end, we are trying really to do our part to advance this progress in Europe. I'm not alone. I'm happy to introduce to you also Christine Contos. Christine, back to you for your introduction.
Yes, just quickly. So I'm Chris. Nice to meet you all. I'm an architect and regenerative design and advanced fabrication specialist as my background. And I am the regenerative impact manager at Living Future Europe, and I lead the program summits and technical collaborations for our programming here. Nice to
Yeah,
meet you once again.
definitely. Chris has been really working a lot in organizing this new edition of the masterclass. She will be our partner for, let's say, organizing, let's say, the different workshops and sessions and materials and so forth and so on. So in the end, consider Chris as your tutor for those of you who will decide to register for the new masterclass. So thanks, Chris, for all of this great work you are doing. So while we are still welcoming new participants, again, the event will be recorded. So it's being recorded, so that will be available afterwards. Your microphone is muted, but obviously there will be a part at the end of a first, say, set of slides where we are basically introducing the program, where there will be really room for Q&As from you guys. So, but if you have any questions, please write them directly in the chat. So we are using Zoom meetings today, so this would be really very, very simple. I know we know that you are familiar with the tool. If possible, please rename yourself in the attendees list with your name, last name, also the country you're calling from. We see that we have really many participants in the call. Please tell us who you are, where you're calling from. So it's also interesting for us to understand where is this interest around regenerative design happening or developing, let's say, across Europe. So this is also something which is very specifically interesting for us to understand, obviously, where there is interest and where there is also greatest potential to develop these concepts. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or ask to speak. If you have any questions after, please write to info@living-future.eu, and thanks for being with us today. So the agenda for this brief webinar will basically include the main rationale behind the Living Future Europe Masterclass. How is the learning process developed across the program? Basically the program, the structure, the topics, the contents, and also the calendar of the different sessions. We also have the great opportunity, and we're happy to have with us also some trainers of this program of this year, also trainers from previous editions and trainees also from previous editions. So you will also have the possibility to listen from them what engaged them most, let's say, in attending the program, and also specifically for the trainers, what are the topics and the teams that we're dealing with during the masterclass. So feel free absolutely to put any questions you deem appropriate. And again, absolutely, thanks so much, you guys, for being with us today. We know your time is precious, so we definitely appreciate that you're taking the time today to join us in this conversation around the masterclass. And obviously, we will also present the program and the trainers and the guest experts, some of them, and also the registration instructions and the pricing. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask us, let's say, and happy to address them. So why this masterclass? Why we decided a few years ago, driven by the work we are doing around regenerative design and the Living Future programs, we decided to start with providing this program, this educational program, specifically for professionals, let's say, but not only for them, across Europe. Because despite, let's say, already like 3 decades, I would say nowadays, we are in 2026, of green building strategies, practices, policy, we know everything. We know in theory everything, but the point is that the built environment is still really not progressing in addressing the huge climate impact, which is not only about CO2 emissions. We know there are many, let's say, environmental issues that the built environment needs to address. And again, despite all of these practices and policies in the last decades, we haven't been really able to see concrete progress in the sustainability agenda for the built environment. So we need to shift let's say, the focus towards being really more effective, more efficient, and really creating a sort of paradigm shift in the conversation and the thoughts around how we are addressing sustainability for the built environment. So we generally used to say we need to do more good instead of doing less bad, because this sort of incremental approach in only reducing the impact has been really the predominant discourse in the last decade. So that's why we need to do a paradigm shift. And I would say we, as the entire building industry, the entire built environment movement, and I'm including developers, I'm including design firms, architectural firms, engineering firms, designers, I'm including building product manufacturers, but say also the policymakers, research centers. So there is really a huge supply chain which is involved by this challenge. So this is basically why we are trying to address this with a different approach with the masterclass, and this is basically how this educational program is about. So, and this was a part of our mission and vision, we do envision a regenerative Europe. So really a continent in which the built environment enables a thriving ecological and social system. The built environment itself can become really a thriving ecological and social system. And this entails a completely different perspective in the way we look at how we design, we build and maintain the built environment, let's say the buildings and the communities we live in. And yeah, so this is the basically the paradigm shift. This is, probably most of you already know this diagram. This is taken from the Living Future documents. Really, what we have been doing so far, we have been designing and building, let's say, buildings that were compliant with the codes, or green, meaning reducing the impact, or greener, or really very high performing, but still by reducing their impact, still working in this sort of negative uh, part of this diagram, but without really achieving the real sustainability that we conceived as the neutral point in this diagram, where we are basically balancing the negative and the positive impact that the built environment is producing. So we are not there yet. So this is basically what we need to pass through towards really a more restorative, really reducing also the impact the negative impact and the damage that we did in the past, but also moving towards a regenerative scenario where we really are able, through the built environment, to create the conditions for the ecosystems to thrive in the mid and long term. This is basically the challenge. This is the living building challenge. Again, you will you will hear from us mentioning the living building challenge many times. We do believe that this could be considered really a framework to help us really addressing this big issue with a regenerative approach. And this is basically the scenario we are looking at. So this is really the indicator of success. This is our big, hairy, audacious goal in the next future, to create the conditions for the stability of a built environment, which is definitely regenerative. And this is basically not only under the environmental perspective, but also as a matter of fact, under the health issues, and also under the equity and social justice themes. They are also equally important. So that's why also I'm also highlighting that we need a holistic approach in addressing these topics. So what if we have really a new value proposition that we can, let's say, propose to the market, also to our clients, to our stakeholders? So with already, like, I would say, 800 registered and certified projects from the Living Future programs all over the world, we really demonstrated that we are able to create carbon neutral buildings, that we are able to positively impact of human and living beings' health and well-being, really improving sometimes even like up to 15%. There are some numbers that we can provide, obviously, along the way. So and we also demonstrated with this database of registered and certified projects that there is a return on investment, which is also interesting. Sometimes could be even up to, let's say, 30%, depending on the cases. So carbon neutral buildings, it's buildings that are good for health, they're good for the environment, they're good for people, for our well-being, good for our financial numbers. They're also, very importantly, positively impacting on the relationship with the communities. So these buildings are also very well rooted in the communities where they're based. So this is also important. We are through the Masterclass program, we will look beyond the building scale, looking at a wider perspective. So, and yeah, and this is it. So basically, the Masterclass, the fifth edition, we started again, as I mentioned, in 2021. We have been running 4 editions so far. The last one was from last year. We are now really kicking off the new edition, the fifth edition of the Masterclass. So what about the learning process? So the learning process is basically distributed along different say platforms and tools. So we are really trying to keep it the more lively and interactive possible. So basically, the participants, you as participants, will have, let's say, a platform, educational platform, where you will find the materials of the masterclass and also recordings of previous sessions with amazing speakers and trainers that basically will address the different topics following the program. And this is something you can, let's say, take at your own pace. So basically, you will get access to this platform and manage your calendar, your program. And we suggest to prepare these materials and to look at these materials before the weekly sessions, so that in the end you will come to the weekly sessions being, say, prepared to address and to participate in a very proactive, say, conversation together with the other participants. So this is basically the online platform that you will have available. As I mentioned, we will have weekly sessions, typically of 2 hours on Wednesday afternoon, from 5 to 7 p.m. Central European Time, 4 to 6 p.m. UK. So this is a time of the day that we generally tested also in the past is working, because you have already finished, let's say, your daily work, and you are more a bit relaxed, let's say, to address let's say the workshop of the masterclass. So, but anyway, we will also let's say provide materials. We will work on using tools like, for instance, Mural and similar tools. So in the end, we will really make this in-person weekly meetings the more interactive possible. So it's basically an asynchronous, sorry, program. So you have recording materials and you have also synchronous conversation in these weekly workshops. And last but not least, we need, and you need, I think this is also on you, to test the level of, let's say, awareness and knowledge on the different topics. So that's why we always introduce also this project work task within the program. This is something that in the past we basically moved to around the very end of the program. From last year, we decided to start from day one with the project work, so that each week, basically, you have the possibility to address the different topics, the different themes. So going, let's say, more in depth regarding the different topics, and then starting, let's say, working on a project work and basically connecting the dots each week in order really to arrive at the end of the program, of the masterclass program, really very close to be over, let's say, and to have your project work completed. So if you're able, like, to take the project work with this pace, like doing something, but every week. And again, we will have also another tool, another platform using Notion available for you. So where you can also put your materials and develop your materials and get feedback from the trainers and the tutors. So this is something that, say, would work in the end. And in the end, will be a final presentation of your project work in the final event, which is happening at the beginning of June. So asynchronous, synchronous, the project work. So you have different ways and different possibilities. Anyway, we will follow you along the process, so you're totally not alone. And this is the masterclass structure. So we are kicking off mid of March, so let's say in a bit less than 1 month from now. And you see the program. So you see that basically we are addressing the say regenerative design, again, backed by the Living Building Challenge framework, but I say not only under the different sustainability or social impact, let's say, categories, but also looking at a different perspective. And the overall approach is really system thinking based, is really looking at being regenerative. So every topic, every theme that we are addressing, we will look also at what's the current situation, what's the baseline, how we can move forward towards a more regenerative scenario under the different, so let's say, themes and the different topics. As you can see from the structure, we will address energy, we'll address carbon, healthy materials, water, the ecological footprints, the place, the environment. So in the end, there are many angles that we need to address. We know that the built environment and the building industry is, let's say, sometimes really complex to deal with. So that's why we need to take all of these different angles. And as said, this is basically a 10 weeks program with typically, let's say, these recording meetings every week with a couple of breaks in between, and then there will be the final presentation at the beginning of June. So without any further ado, I don't know if you have any questions so far, or maybe we can keep the questions in the end, because I would like to really to welcome Carolina. Carolina was a really brilliant trainee, let's say knowledgeable professional, but also trainee from last year's masterclass. And Carolina, welcome again. So we would like to hear a bit from you. Say not only say if the masterclass has been say helpful for you, or if there were like some let's say haha moments. Let me say that you had, let's say, while working and studying during the masterclass, but also most of all, say why you think that this this different approach is needed, and what is also your current experience after having completed the masterclass. This is also something that I suppose our friends today would be very interested to know from you.
Yes. Hi, everyone, and thanks, Carlo and Chris, for inviting me. I took the masterclass last year, and if I go back a little bit, I had this questioning on how. Well, I'm an architect. I'm a trained architect, and also did a master in landscape and urbanism here in London. So I always had this criticism a little bit on how we take sustainability, and this comes from before when I was practicing. And about 3 years ago, I decided to start on my own practice and started really thinking on how we could, now as a professional and an independent professional, start addressing all the issues that we know are there, and we were taking them for granted, or even sustainability was coming, as an add-on on the projects. And this was my experience in the different practices that I worked. So I came across the program, and I came across biophilic design as well, which I'm very interested in, and decided to take it just to understand what it has, and how the theory, which we took, we learned, we went through every single petal, which in a way is just theory then, even though we practice and we applied it in the course, but it's quite a lot of information you have to process. But then really it's been more valuable afterwards, I think, when I started digesting, all the information that we learned, and really thinking how you actually apply it. How can we start from the beginning of a project thinking of all the constraints and all the opportunities that a program like this has, and all the aspects of every single petal that you will go through, but really how can we apply it? And then we had the opportunity recently through a project with a client that had the vision to actually get a project certified with the Living Building Challenge, which is a little bit unusual, I have to say, because you don't come across these very often. But it has been a fantastic opportunity. So we actually have been testing and applying all the principles that we learned in the masterclass. And we are in that process. We just finished the concept, and we will continue with the following phases soon. And I think for me, just to conclude personally, it has been a shift in the way we approach projects, because you stop thinking of a building or a landscape or interior, whatever you do, as a single element, but it is part of a system. It's a systemic approach to design, and that changes completely the way you address, from the beginning, which is also something very important, that from the beginning this is applied. And this is normally not the case, that, it comes afterwards, in the traditional or way of doing the projects, you think about sustainability at the end, in some cases, maybe not all cases. So with this framework, you really start from the beginning of the project, from the outset. And I think that has proven so far, at least with what we've done, that is the right way to do things. So in my experience, it has been very positive, and it is becoming the focus basically of our work. So yeah.
No, that's brilliant. No, thanks for your explanation. So I'm curious, did the client come to you basically with the proposal of Living Building Challenge in this specific case, or were you like to propose this to the client?
No, the client came with the proposal.
Oh, okay.
Interestingly, he had done the Living Building Challenge program. I think he had gone through that, and it was part of the brief. So that's
Okay.
why, yeah, I'm saying it's interesting to see that, because it's not normally something that happens where these aspects are so strongly embedded in the brief. It is mentioned sometimes, but not the core of the project. And in this case, is the core. The client wants to get the project certified. So that already changes completely the way we approach the site, the way we approached materials, where everything, energy, water, all the decisions that we made for the design were with the focus of the Living Building Challenge, because the client is his ambition. So
Okay.
yeah. So.
No, Carolina, I have a question. Let me say more like a methodological question, because sometimes people say, "Oh, Living Building Challenge is challenging." So,
Yeah, it is.
but thinking that is challenging from a technological or technical perspective. So, but I'm curious. So, in the end, what did you say what did you do? Let's say differently before and after? Was it like a better awareness of some technologies available, or in the end was let's say a sort of mindset shift while using the same technology that was still available before? So is let's say the question is it like a technical challenge, or is it like a psychological, cultural, conversational, say, challenge with the client?
I think it's a little bit of both, Carlo, because you need to have the mindset to understand the possibilities of incorporating these principles into any project. So if you don't understand the logic, if you don't see the potential and the benefits of incorporating principles like these, as a client, for example, you would not make certain decisions, or you would make some decisions that would go against the focus or the core of this way of doing projects. Technologically is very important, because certain petals, not all of them, but quite a few of them, require techniques and approaches to design that would not be possible if you don't know how to achieve the results and the requirements to meet the certification, basically. So it is a combination of the two things. And I think we as a team also had to learn certain things, because depending on where you do the project, depending on where it's based, different techniques are available, different materials. Maybe in some cases it's more challenging because you don't find easily the resources or, let's say the materials that you need to use in order to comply. So it is, I think it's a combination, but definitely I don't think it could be one without the other. So that's why the program kind of covers all different aspects, not just the technical aspect, but it does cover. I mean, we started with the mindset. I remember the very, very first session is to understand that actually everything is part of a system, right? It's a systemic approach to design. And with that in mind, you approach the projects in a different way. So I think it's a combination of the two.
Yeah. There's a question from Lucy from the US. Hi, Lucy. What type of client Carolina, and what were tools applied? Any tangible outcome in
The
this
type of
specific project that you mentioned?
type of client, you mean as it's a private or public organization or
Yeah, so
yeah, it's a private client, and the project is a wellness retreat.
okay.
Yeah, so it does in a way require basically this approach together with biophilic design, which is also something very strong in the brief. It's kind of part of the philosophy of a wellness,
Okay.
development. What was the other question? Sorry,
About the tangible outcome. So the tangible
yeah,
outcome, you are still working on design.
yeah, we are exactly. So we just finished the concept,
Okay.
but with these we set basically the principles, and it's what we're very happy about is that it'll be very difficult to shift completely from what we already developed because it'll be a completely different project
Yeah.
because everything is set around the petals of the LBC, about biophilic design, and all all the decisions that we made basically were based on that. So
Okay.
we are happy that, well, we hope that it will continue in that direction, but it does look very promising. Yes.
Yeah, you made it so far, which is already fine, let's
Yeah,
say.
yeah, exactly.
And the client is willing to
It's very,
proceed.
yeah.
No, thanks, Carolina, a lot for
Pleasure.
your approach and also your thoughts. And if you have any questions for Carolina, please write them in the
Yes.
chat so that we are not taking it too long. Let's say, Carolina, thanks so much for being
Thank
with
you.
us today. I'm passing over to presenting some of the trainers. I see, Dave, you're probably also online. I don't know if you have still confirmed or maybe yes, but yes. So these are some of the speakers, some of the trainers. You will find basically facilitators and guest experts. So basically for each session, each weekly session, basically you will find us, let's say myself, Christine, and also some other people, let's say, working as facilitators in the room, and we were also guest experts. So the idea is to have these guests, let's say, presenting their approach and also working together with you in developing some exercises, working on some requirements, looking at the different aspects of the frameworks. So again, we make it the more interactive possible, and also looking at real cases. So this is also important. So this is something we have been always doing, but more specifically for the last year's session, the last year's edition, also for this edition, we are looking at case studies. So the important is really to present case studies where this approach was real and was put in practice, let's say, successfully. So because we need these examples, and obviously looking at the project work, you will have also your possibility to work on your specific project. Yeah, and I see some of, say, Dimitra, Theocari, Leila Bayat, Lina Lockwood, Emmanuel Powers, Dave Cheshire, Ludo Pitti from, let's say, big, important consulting and design firms. But anyway, we will have all of the list of speakers and trainers on the website. And I mentioned Dimitra, Theocari. Dimitra is really one of the pillars, let's say, of our masterclass. She has been presenting many times in the previous editions. Dimitra is an expert on nature-based solutions, I would say, and also the water management. Dimitra, I see that you are with us today, and
Yes.
hi, welcome. And yeah, I would say maybe you can, let's say, briefly, say, introduce the topic that you typically present
Yes.
at the masterclass.
Hi from my side. My name is Dimitra Tokari. I am founder, managing director of Ensphere GmbH. This is a landscape architecture company based in Hamburg. I have a 15-year experience in landscape architecture, worked in really famous firms like Turenscape, Ramboll Schüler, Dreiseitel, and then in a local firm here in Hamburg. And I'm really excited to be a part of this masterclass for another year. Typically, I'm trying to show different scales of projects in open space that deal with topics of nature-based solutions, rainwater management, stormwater management, river restoration. But the last couple of years, I started to show more of our work regarding the topic of heat, because this is a really interesting topic. And we currently have developed, also currently, but also the past year, some specific examples in Athens that are also going to construction. So this year it will be even more focused on the case of Athens and real case studies that we are developing regarding how to do nature-based solutions to deal with heat stress. I think that's all in a really short summary. I don't know if I should say something more.
This was perfect. No, I would
Yes.
say while you were speaking, I was thinking that with you, in the end, we really discover the importance of going beyond the scale of the building, because we generally also looking at other sustainability schemes and certification. For a series of reasons, also a matter of building ownership and scope of work. We generally think that the building is sort of isolated object, but in the end, we realize, hearing, listening from you, also working with you, that you need really to have beyond the building scale perspective, really looking at how the communities and districts are performing in terms of all the ecological stress that you mentioned, which could be water management, could be floods, could be heat stress, heat waves, as you mentioned. So, and these topics are more urgent than ever. So that's why the perspective that you brought was so important, combined also with this nature-based solutions approach. So which is not only trendy buzzword, but is really something very concrete that we need to apply really to have, a more regenerative approach for our buildings design and construction. How do you see these approaches, these methodologies or techniques are evolving? And I would say, often you have to deal also with policymakers, with municipalities, because in the end, when this issue becomes, let's say, at the district and community scale, you have obviously also the scenario of stakeholders change really dramatically. How you typically deal with them? Are they really understanding that they have to take a more responsible approach to how they design our urban environments? What's your sense on this?
This is really great and current question, because from the one hand, the one project that we have a research project that I will present during the masterclass that is in collaboration with the City of Athens. So this is exactly the topic, like how we collaborate with them to make them understand how to resolve these issues, and how we many times try to solve issues of flooding together with heat risk reduction, and challenges that come up that often have to do with the lack of communication between municipality sub-teams and departments, but also other important stakeholders like the water agency, etc. So we try to generally have a very transparent and open approach, and to show them case studies, and to focus on communicating also with the citizens, like in public participation events, because when the public sees to have a strong reaction to solutions we show, then the municipality people, they get more open to apply them because of the feedback they get from the citizens. At the same time, I was invited a couple of years ago to give a presentation in the Nordic Park Conference in Helsinki, and I was invited back actually last week in a similar conference in Jyväskylä in Finland, and it was amazing to see how in between the two talks, because of the focus that they showed in heat risk reduction, and obviously, their understanding of a climate crisis, they have already developed in Helsinki the first heat risk assessment report within 2 years, and they're currently bringing the topic quite strongly and are already thinking what rules to change and regulations in order to deal with the heat in Helsinki, which is already impressive.
Yeah, by the way, you mentioned also the fact that this technology, these solutions should be accepted by the citizens. So this also very much aligned with the new European Bauhaus new movements where let's say deliberative democracy is key, because in the end you can have, let's say, the best technologies, the best technology, the best solutions possible. But if you don't find, let's say, designers trained to adopt them in their processes and their designs, or manufacturers or companies able to install them, and moreover, let's say, citizen not ready to accept them for a series of reasons, in the end, these solutions will fail. So that's why the holistic approach that we mentioned is not only, let's say, looking at the project from different technological perspective, but also looking at from different angles and stakeholders engagement, because in the end, what you design will remain forever, let's say. So that's why it's important that you address really them with a very inclusive process. So that's very important. So thanks so much, Dimitra. And again, you will have the opportunity to meet Dimitra at one of the masterclass session very soon. Yeah, and again, if you have any questions on this, please let us know. I see that there are some questions in the chat. We will address them soon. So there was a question from Michelle regarding the project works. So the project work could be whatever. So it could be like a real building design project. Could be even like a framework, could be a scientific paper, could be a tool, could be really whatever. So it's important that it's something which is important for you and helpful for you to be developed, because this is something that would help you in the daily professional activities, on your own activities, in your company, in your design firm. So in the end, the approach should be the more practical and applicable, let's say, possible. You can see here some examples from previous project works. This is not from the last edition, or probably the edition before. So again, there are different topics. Let's say frameworks. There are tools. Let's say pieces of research, concrete projects, roadmaps. So in the end, this is something you can really adapt to your own needs, but obviously aligned with the masterclass mission and approach. And possibly this is something you should have almost in mind, let's say, from the beginning from day one, let's say, of the masterclass, so that we can really start. So we will help you to identify this project work. So we'll help you with this. We will also review your proposal. So we will try really to provide you with the needed guidance in order to help you move forward with the project work. But again, if you have these ideas already in mind from the very beginning, this would be extremely helpful. The masterclass itself doesn't count towards the Living Future accreditation. This is, let's say, a typical question that we are receiving. This is on purpose. So there is the Living Future accreditation program, which is completely asynchronous online on the educational platform of Living Future, which we definitely encourage you to look at and to take. But this could be, the masterclass could be really seen as a complementary program of the Living Future accreditation. So it's not valid for the accreditation, but I think we think this is a really very interesting, helpful platform that you can say combine with your Living Future accreditation program, because in the end we will provide typically Europe specific case studies, information, resources, references, and so forth and so on. This will be, let's say, mostly synchronous, basically. So these weekly meetings, this is something that you will not find in the LFA accreditation program online from the Living Future. So I think this could be really seen as an added value. So in the end, it could be really seen as complementary. And you can take the LFA course, let's say, before or in parallel. We know also of some trainees who took the LFA accreditation program after the masterclass. In the end, there will be, so we will address also the petals also during the masterclass. So there will be at least a couple of modules session where you will also be required to look at the materials from Living Building Channel Framework and present the petals to your peers basically during the session. This is also something which could be helpful for you to be more familiar to become more familiar with the framework. So again, we saw all of the different situations. So someone who took this LFA course before, during the program, during the masterclass program, or even at the end, I think it's all feasible. Again, if you already took the LFA course before the masterclass, obviously you will be sort of facilitated because you will already have some general overview or some frameworks say already in your mind, in your body of knowledge, let me say. But again, it's not a problem if you are taking the LFA course after or even like during the program. We will review the petals again during the masterclass. And again, the more familiar you are with the framework before the masterclass, let's say the greatest number of opportunities of providing your own contribution to the masterclass you will have. So, but again, it's absolutely not mandatory. This can really be seen as a complementary approach. Last but not least, these are typical tools that we are using. All of our recording materials are on Teachable. We will provide you with a Google Drive folder with a Notion platform specifically for the masterclass, and you will have your own page for your own project work where we will also be able to interact with you. So you can like post questions or materials, and we as tutors, we can like provide you with feedback. We can interact in a sort of chat, let's say, through Notion. So this is something that we are using daily. So this is something that we know is working fine. The sessions will be typically through Zoom, and we will also use Mural for the workshop. This is something we have been using also in the past editions. And let me see if there are any other questions. I think we address all of them. Yeah. So, and this is basically the pricing structure. If so, there is a possibility to have a big, as you can see, discount if you are registering before the end of February. So basically, by the end of this week, by this Saturday. Obviously, you can register also afterwards, but if you can register, if you are thinking to register, if you're willing to attend, definitely encourage you to take the advantage of this early bird discounted opportunity. We have also 50% discount if there are 3 or more participants from the same organization. For instance, you are working in a design firm, an architectural firm, you have already like 3 or more colleagues that are who are interested to register. You will also find this 50% discount. Moreover, if you have already a Living Future Professional membership, you will receive also a 10% discount. So there are a few discounts available. Yeah, and I think I addressed basically almost all. Again, you will also receive a final certificate of participation. We have to look if the masterclass, say, we are generally having participants from Europe. So, but if there are participants from the US or from other countries, we can also look, or say, participant register with the AIA association in the US. We can also look at the possibility to get continuous educational units for the masterclass. This is something we have to explore. Again, apologies. This program is focused on Europe mostly, even if we had participants from other parts of the world, I have to say, in the past. So this is something which is happening. Again, you will have the certificate of participation. these CEUs are also, you can also count these CEUs for your LEED accreditation, your WELL accreditation, so and also for other sustainability standards. So in the end, you can self-report these hours for your specific sustainability professional credential. Yeah, you can find more information at this QR code, I'm pretty sure, and also at these links, but maybe the QR code is easier for you than to, let's say, copy paste the direct link to register, unless Christine, you posted these links in the chat. This would be absolutely helpful. Yeah, and any questions and answers? Maybe we can also like stop sharing the. I can also stop sharing the screen. Yeah, thanks, Chris, for providing the links in the chat. Any questions or comments you might have? Yeah, Michelle.
Good morning from California. Thank
Hi,
you,
morning.
Carlo, for all this information. It's super exciting to see a class like this come together with obviously very competent professionals and a track record over years and years getting to sort of tap the expertise. I'm wondering, I'm just trying to sort of conceptualize what kind of project I might be interested to bring and have it be a meaningful kind of contribution. And I'm wondering, is it mostly papers that are generated, sort of white papers? I was looking at the list that was on the screen, or do people also do sort of, I guess case studies might be another option, sort of applying the different principles to a potential or imagined project? Are those options or?
Yeah, so that we are really flexible on this. You can be really flexible on this. We had all the opportunities and different typologies, let's say, of project works in the past, really from like creating a framework from scratch, let's say, to address regenerative design. I'm just recalling, or for instance, working on a real building project and applying the Living Building Challenge in that specific project, step by step. This was also an option, or like doing a feasibility study, or applying these frameworks and these principles on a already completed project to make it sort of review, critical review. So there could be really many options. We also have articles like scientific articles, something like this. So it's important that it's something that might be helpful for you in your daily activities. So it's not like only on theory, not something that you put in your drawer after the end of the masterclass, but something that you can really use, or it could be beneficial for your colleagues or peers. So it could be really very open. So we generally ask you to submit a proposal at the end of at the beginning of the masterclass, and we can review it and provide suggestions. So it's absolutely up to you. See, also Dave Cheshire in the call, taking the opportunity to say hello to Dave. Dave has been one of unfortunately we had no slides presenting you, Dave. Apologies, but Dave has been really a champion of the previous edition of the masterclass. If you can just say hello and where are you calling from, and what the organization you're working with. We know you, but maybe some of the in the call know. We cannot hear you, Dave. Probably you're muted. It's maybe the audio settings.
Is that better?
Yeah, we can hear now.
The wrong settings. Yeah, hi, I'm Dave Cheshire. I'm in London today, and it's lovely and sunny. And I am working at AECOM, which is a large multidisciplinary engineering company. I got really interested in this topic 4 or 5 years ago. Wrote a book about it because I thought it was very exciting. And so trying to implement some of those ideas on projects. But I mean, a lot of what we're doing is still very much sustainability and trying to be less bad. We're struggling to get anything good, but the aspirations are there, and we're starting to write some things around, particularly in healthcare, and we're putting forward some sort of thought pieces around how hospitals could be more regenerative and trying to get some traction through that, really.
Yeah. Dave is also the author of a few books. The last or the latest one, I don't know, is Regenerative by Design. I don't know if you're writing something,
No,
something like not yet. Okay, not for now. But again, hopefully you will meet Dave in one of our session of the masterclass. So thanks, Dave, for being with us and also for being such a brilliant guest speaker last year. So, any other comments or questions before we close? Chris, did I forget anything important?
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay. If you have any questions, please also after the call, reach out to us, the info at living-future.eu. Yeah, you will find also all the information on the website. Yeah, I think it's all should be all clear. And yeah, thanks for joining us today, and have a great remainder of the day of the week. And hopefully see you soon at the masterclass or other events of the Living Future Network. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Ciao, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, Carlo. Bye. Bye.
Thank you.